I never thought I'd be the type to sit here spilling my guts on a subreddit about relationship issues. But honestly, I don't know what else to do. I'm still trying to process what I just found out. It's like my mind keeps circling the same disgusting thought. My wife, Lisa, really did this. During my mother's funeral, no less. It's a sick joke, isn't it? You think you're living a life with someone, building a future, sharing everything. Then one day you find out they've been lying right in your face. I should have seen the signs, but I was blinded. I guess I was just too comfortable, too trusting. That's my fault. But now, I can't unsee what I saw. It started about a week ago after the funeral. People were still lingering around, some crying, some just trying to piece themselves back together. Lisa was acting tense, jittery. She kept telling me she needed some air, so I stayed with the family while she slipped out alone. That's when I first saw them. Mark, her best friend, was waiting outside, leaning against his car. I didn't think much of it at first, but something about the way she ran to him, her face flushing, her body language suddenly too intimate, that's what got me. Mark's a good-looking guy, but I never suspected anything. Still, that moment just stuck in my head. I watched from a distance, my stomach knotting up as they embraced briefly before she hurried back inside. The next day, I decided to check her phone. Just a quick peek. I guess I was hoping it was all a mistake, or maybe I was just looking for some confirmation I was overthinking. But what I found hit me like a freight train. Texts, dozens of texts with Mark, mostly late at night, flirty, suggestive stuff. "Can't wait to see you again," one said. Another, "Miss you already." There were pictures, too. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe some innocent chat, but instead I saw a photo of her lying on Mark's bed, smiling like they shared a secret only they knew. My hands shook. My stomach dropped. I wanted to scream, to break something. Instead, I just closed her phone, my head pounding. How long had this been going on? Was it just a few weeks, months? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore the evidence. My wife, my partner in life, lying to my face during the worst day of my mother's life. I stayed quiet after that. I didn't confront her right away. I needed to think, to plan. But every time I saw her, I felt this boiling rage. Every touch, every smile she gave me now tasted like ash. I could smell her perfume, so sweet, so fake. I couldn't stand her anymore. I couldn't stand myself for not seeing it sooner. I started formulating a plan. I need to do something drastic. I want her to feel what it's like to be betrayed, to be humiliated, not just by me, but by everyone. I want her to know I'm not the fool she thought I was. And I want my revenge to be clean, calculated, and final. But first, I need her to realize she's crossed a line she can't come back from. I still remember the look on her face when I confronted her. She was caught off guard. Her eyes darted around, her hands trembling. I told her I knew everything. Her lips parted, but she didn't say a word for a long moment. That silence was worse than any shouting match. I saw guilt, panic, maybe even regret. But it's too late for that now. I think she thought I wouldn't find out, that I'd never look beyond her lies. But I did. And now I'm planning something that will make her regret every single second she spent hiding this from me. I want her to feel the same hurt she's caused me, only I'll do it in a way that leaves her no room to deny or run. This is only the beginning. My stomach is still clenching just thinking about what I'm going to do next. I've got a plan, and it's time to put it into motion. I just need her to slip up again just one more time so I can set the trap. The question is, will she? Or am I about to get the confirmation I need to burn everything down? I spent the next few days walking around with this gnawing feeling in my gut. Every time I saw Lisa, I could feel my jaw tightening, my fists clenched without even realizing it. The house, normally quiet but comfortable, suddenly felt like a trap. Every move she made was suspicious now. Every glance she threw my way seemed loaded with secrets. I wasn't just angry, I was furious. And worse, I was starting to see red whenever I looked at her. I kept telling myself I needed proof, something undeniable that would make her realize I wasn't going to be played anymore. That's when I remembered I'd hidden her phone for a few days after I found the texts. I knew she'd come looking for it, desperate to check her messages or delete evidence. Sure enough, yesterday evening she started asking where it was, her voice trembling. "I just want my phone," she said softly, her eyes darting around the room. "I need to check some things." I looked at her coldly. "You're not getting it, not until I decide what to do." She looked like she was about to cry, but I didn't care. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. I told her I needed to think, that I was reconsidering everything. She begged, pleaded, even said she'd do anything to fix it. But I wasn't listening. I had already made up my mind to gather more concrete evidence. Later that night, I snuck into her purse when she wasn't looking. It was a risky move, but I figured I'd find something more damning. I rifled through her wallet and bag, and in a small, hidden pocket I found her day planner. Nothing special, just appointments and reminders. But then I saw a note tucked behind some receipts. It was a date, the night of my mother's funeral. Next to it she'd scribbled Mark, with a little heart drawn beside the name. That was the final nail in the coffin. She'd been planning this all along, right under my nose. She'd lied to me, to everyone. The betrayal hit me like a punch in the stomach. The grief from losing my mother, already a crushing weight, was now compounded by this shame, this disgust. I felt my stomach turn cold, and my hands trembled so much I had to clench them into fists. I knew then what I had to do. I couldn't let her get away with it. Not this time. I remembered the small digital recorder I'd bought months ago. Just in case. I turned it on and hid it in her purse, right at the bottom where she wouldn't see. If she slipped up again, I'd have the proof I needed, her own voice admitting everything, maybe even justifying it. I wanted her to confess outright, to admit she'd been lying the entire time. The next morning I confronted her again. "Lisa," I said, voice steady but icy. "I found something I don't like. Care to explain?" She looked startled, her eyes flickering with panic. I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice cracked. "Oh, I think you do," I said, pulling out the note from her purse. "You lied to me about everything, about your activities, your meetings, even that night at the funeral. I've got evidence now, you can't deny it." Her face went pale. She started stammering, then blurted, "It was just a mistake, I swear." "Save it," I cut her off. "I've heard enough. That's why I've been planning my next move. Because I want her to feel what I've felt. I want her to know she's lost everything, just like I will if I don't handle this right." The plan I'd been working out in my head solidified with every word she uttered. I was going to leave her, yes, but not just walk away. I wanted her to realize she'd burned down everything good we had. I was going to make her regret ever crossing that line. I had a few tricks up my sleeve now, and I was ready to set them into motion. She begged again, tears streaming down her face. "Please, don't do this. I'll fix it. I swear I'll fix it. Just don't leave me." I looked at her, feeling the cold fury inside me. "It's too late for that," I said softly. "You had your chance. Now you're going to see the consequences." I left her standing there, trembling, and went to prepare everything I needed. I wasn't just going to confront her anymore, I was about to turn the tables completely. She thought she was the one in control, that she could lie her way out. But I was about to show her what real control looked like. And when I was done, there'd be no coming back. The plan took shape. Quickly after that, I knew I needed something undeniable, something that would hit her hard and leave no room for doubt. No screaming matches, no messy confrontations, just an airtight trap that would make her realize she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. That night, I stayed up late, setting everything in motion. First, I ordered a small GPS tracker. Not for her, I didn't want her to know I was tracking her, at least not yet. I slipped it into her purse again, just before she went to bed. Next, I rigged our bedroom doorbell with a tiny recording device, so if she ever left the house during my absence, I'd be alerted and could hear where she was going. My real ace was the hidden camera I installed in the living room corner, pointed directly at her usual spot on the sofa. I'd been waiting for her to slip up, and I wanted proof, real, clear evidence of her meeting Mark again, or just any suspicious behavior. I'd also pre-record a subtle message on my phone, making it seem like I was suspiciously watching her, which I'd play at the right moment. The next morning I sat across from her during breakfast, pretending everything was normal, but inside I wasn't calm. My stomach was tight, like I'd swallowed a rock. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You better start telling me the truth now, Lisa, because I've got enough proof to make this whole thing end very badly for you." She stiffened, her fork trembling in her hand. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," I said, voice even but cold. "I've been watching, listening, and gathering, and I'm not going to let this go anymore. So tell me, are you still seeing him?" Her face turned ghostly pale. She swallowed hard, then muttered, I don't know what you mean. I leaned closer. You're lying. I caught that note. I saw your messages, and I have recordings. It's over, Lisa. You can't deny it. Her eyes filled with tears. Please don't do this. I made a mistake. I was weak. But I love you. I swear I do. I shook my head slowly. Love? You're kidding, right? You're cheating during my mother's funeral, and that's your excuse. The guilt in her eyes was unmistakable. That's when I decided it was time to play the recording. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few buttons, and pressed play in front of her. Her face went slack as she heard her own voice, confessing late-night plans with Mark, promising to meet him, giggling like a teenager hiding something she knew was wrong. She looked like she'd been punched. Her hands shook visibly now. That's not what it sounds like. Oh, it sounds pretty damn clear, I said quietly. You've been lying to me from the start, and I'm done with it. I let her sit there, stunned, for a moment. Then I told her I had one last step. The GPS tracker I'd planted would reveal her next move. I explained that I'd follow her today, watch her every step, and see if she'd keep up her lies. Her voice broke. Please, don't do this. I'll fix it. I swear I will. Fix it. I cut her off sharply. You've already broken everything. The trust, the respect, the love. But don't worry, I'm about to give you exactly what you deserve. I left her sitting in that chair, face streaked with tears, a mess of guilt and fear. I knew I had all the evidence I needed now. The only thing left was executing the final phase of my plan. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and my coat. I was about to go follow her, see where she was headed. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about making her understand she'd lost me for good. The moment I stepped out that door, everything changed. I could feel the adrenaline rushing through my veins. My palms were slick, my heart pounding. I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this one. I was finally taking control. And once I did, once she saw the consequences, there'd be no pretending anymore. I slipped into my car, heart pounding in my chest like a drumbeat. The tracker I'd planted was already working, confirming her movement. She left the house at exactly 10:15 a.m., heading toward the city. I kept my eyes glued to the tiny screen on the dashboard, watching her every turn, every stop. This was it, no turning back now. I followed her for about 20 minutes, heart racing with every mile. She pulled into a small parking lot behind some nondescript office building. I stayed in my car, watching her through the windshield as she hurried inside. Her face was tense, eyes darting around like she was afraid of being caught. That's when I knew she was hiding something even worse than I thought. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. I had the proof. Now it was time to execute the final move. I grabbed my phone and sent her a quick message. I know everything. Meet me at the park in 30 minutes. We need to talk. She responded almost instantly with a simple, "Why? What do you want?" I didn't reply. Instead, I parked a little further down the street, out of sight, and waited. My stomach twisted into knots, but I forced myself to stay calm. I knew what I was about to do would hurt her, but she'd earned it. Exactly 30 minutes later, she appeared in the parking lot, hurried and anxious looking. I got out of my car and approached her. She froze when she saw me, eyes wide with guilt. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice trembling. "Waiting for you," I said quietly. "We need to talk somewhere private." She hesitated, then nodded and followed me to the nearby park. The trees were bare, the cold wind biting at our skin. We found a quiet bench and sat down, eyes locked. I looked at her coldly. "You lied to me. You cheated on me during my mother's funeral. That's the lowest you could go, Lisa. So tell me why." She looked down, tears welling in her eyes. I don't know, it just happened. I was lonely and stupid. It meant nothing." "You expect me to believe that?" I snapped. "It meant nothing. You were sneaking around for weeks, hiding texts, meeting him behind my back. That's not nothing, Lisa. That's betrayal." She trembled, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was scared you'd leave me. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could fix it, but I realize now I was wrong." I clenched my fists, feeling the anger boil over. "Fix it? After all this, you think a sorry is enough, do you even understand what you've done to me, to us?" Her sobs broke free. "Please, I love you. I swear I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Just give me a chance to make it right." I looked at her, feeling the cold resolve settle in. "It's too late for apologies, Lisa. You've burned every bridge. I have everything on recording, your voice admitting everything, the texts, the GPS proof. I'm done with this. I'm leaving and I want you to understand I'm not coming back." Her eyes widened with shock. "You're really going to walk away?" "Yes," I said firmly, "because I deserve better than this. And so do I." She reached out, clutching my arm desperately. "Wait, please don't do this. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me like this." I pulled away gently but decisively. "You had your chance. Now I'm ending it, and I won't be fooled again." I stood up, leaving her sitting there, broken and crying. I felt the weight lift slightly, but a heavy ache still pressed against my chest. I knew I'd made the right decision. That girl, Lisa, had shown her true colors, and I was finally seeing her for who she really was. The drive home was quiet. My mind kept replaying the moment, the look on her face, her trembling voice. The ache of betrayal stung more than I expected, but deep down I knew this was the only way to move forward. To truly reclaim my dignity, I had to walk away for good. As I pulled into the driveway, I made a firm choice. I grabbed the keys to her car and placed them on the kitchen table. I was done. No more lies, no more pretending. I was going to start healing from this, even if it meant facing the ugly truth. Because in the end, the hardest part isn't revenge, it's knowing that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to walk away and leave the ghosts behind. The silence at home was deafening. Her absence left a gaping hole in the house, and every step I took felt heavier than the last. I'd made my decision and executed the plan, but now that it was done, the reality hit hard. I was finally free from the lie, but the ache of betrayal lingered like a bad smell that refused to dissipate. I spent the first night alone in my bed. No more footsteps in the hallway, no more whispered lies, no more her scent lingering in the air. It was just me and the cold emptiness. I kept replaying her voice confessing, the texts I'd found, the look in her eyes. I'd never felt so numb. But I knew I had to keep it together for myself, for my future. The following day, I started packing some of her things. Not all at once, just enough to make her realize I was serious. I placed her favorite clothes in a box, her jewelry in a small bag. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my space and dignity. I didn't want to be the guy who got played, but I also didn't want to be the guy who let her walk all over him. Just as I was finishing, she showed up unexpectedly. I heard the front door open, then her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" I didn't bother to look up. I stayed silent for a beat, then said, "There's nothing to say. You lied. You cheated, and I've already made up my mind." She hesitated, then tried again. "Please, I know I messed up, but I want to fix this. I want us to work through it." I looked at her, cold and distant. "You had your chance. I've seen enough to know I can't trust you anymore. And honestly, I don't want to. You're a stranger to me now." She took a step closer, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, I was stupid. I love you and I want to make it right. Just give me one more chance." I shook my head slowly. "Sorry isn't going to cut it. The trust is gone, Lisa. You crossed a line I never thought you would. I'm done trying to repair this. I'm done pretending I didn't see what I saw." Her shoulders sagged under the weight of her guilt. "So you're really leaving?" "Yeah," I said, voice firm. "And I want you to understand this is final. I'm not coming back. You made your choice and I'm choosing mine. You can keep whatever you want here. I don't want it anymore." She looked like she was about to collapse, but I didn't waver. I had made my decision. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the keys to her car, placing them on the table. "Take what you want. I won't be part of this anymore." With that, I turned and walked out, closing the door behind me. The click of the latch echoed loudly in the empty house. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Relief because I was finally rid of her lies. Emptiness because I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, the woman I'd loved. The drive away was cold, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. The air outside was crisp, the wind cutting through my jacket. I felt the weight of everything I'd just done. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd taken control of my life again. I'd stood up, faced my pain, and ended the nightmare on my own terms. That night, I stayed in a cheap motel. I didn't want to go home, not yet. I needed space to breathe, to think, to heal. As I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, I realized something important. Revenge isn't about hurting the other person. It's about reclaiming what's left of yourself after they've tried to break you. I know some will say I went too far or that I should have tried to forgive, but I don't regret it. I did what I had to do to save my sanity and my dignity. Trust, once broken, isn't easily fixed. Sometimes the only way forward is to cut the cord and walk away. Because if you don't, you risk losing yourself trying to hold onto someone who's already gone. Tomorrow I'll start over. Maybe I'll find someone who values honesty, who respects the vows they take. But for now, I'm just glad I took back my life piece by piece. The one lesson I'll hold on to sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply walking away and never looking back. The days that followed were a blur of silence and reflection. I didn't rush into anything. No calls, no texts, no second-guessing myself. I needed that space to understand what I'd gained and what I'd lost. Honestly, it was a strange feeling, like I'd been carrying a heavy backpack full of betrayal, and finally I'd taken it off. The air felt lighter, but every now and then I'd catch myself staring at the empty spot where she used to sit, or at her side of the bed, realizing how much trust had evaporated overnight. I spent a lot of time alone, thinking about what had happened, about her, about myself. I realized that I'd been giving her too much of myself, trust, patience, hope, while she was secretly undermining everything. It was a brutal lesson, but one I needed. I learned that the truth always finds a way to surface, and trying to cover it up only makes the damage worse. One morning, I finally sat down and made a decision. I went to the bank, withdrew the rest of our savings, and took all the legal steps necessary to start fresh. I filed the paperwork for divorce. Not out of anger anymore, but out of principle. I wouldn't be with someone who lied, cheated, and betrayed me during one of the most vulnerable times of my life. I deserved more than that. As I handed over the papers, I felt a calm resolve. No more hope, no more second chances, just clarity. I told myself I would rebuild stronger than ever. I would find someone who deserved my honesty, someone who valued the vows they made. I'd learned that trust isn't something you give lightly anymore, it's something you earn. And now I was determined to protect myself from being hurt like that again. That evening, I tossed her keys on the table and left the house for good. I didn't look back. I didn't send a message or say a word. Some things are just finished, and this was one of those times. I drove away, watching the sunset fade behind the horizon, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders with every mile. Now I'm in a new place, living alone, rebuilding my life in my own way. It's not perfect, but it's mine. I've learned that revenge isn't about punishment, but about reclaiming yourself. About saying, I refuse to be broken by someone else's lies. I've realized that the strongest thing you can do after betrayal is to stand tall and walk forward, even if it's one hesitant step at a time. And I can say this with certainty. Walking away in dignity is the best revenge of all. Because no matter what they do, no one can take away your ability to choose your own happiness. I'm finally choosing mine.